Hello. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Hello, Father Mike, and I'm really happy to be here with you today. My name is Father Joe Bruce. I was born deaf, and when I was growing up, I attended a residential school called the Clark School for the Deaf. After the Clark School, I went to a mainstreamed hearing high school and college. I entered the Jesuits in 1974 and then was ordained as a priest in 1981. I work here at Holy Cross College in the college archives. My work focuses on a specific area of the archives called the Deaf Catholic Archives. As the archivist here at Holy Cross College, could you tell us a little bit about what you do? Well, I should say that the Deaf Catholic Archives are located in the regular college library archives, and they're a special collection set aside. And the purpose is to preserve all kinds of documents, newsletters, program manuals, minutes of various meetings, and movies, all of which are preserved to help us focus and preserve our deaf Catholic history. When did you start and how did you get interested in setting up the Deaf Catholic Archives? Well, it started when I entered the Jesuits. And I went into the Jesuits in 1974. I worked in the Deaf Community Center. And at that time, the head of the Deaf Community Center was Father John Fitzpatrick. He was in charge of deaf ministries in the Archdiocese of Boston at that time. And he encouraged me to go out and start visiting people in their homes. So I did, and the first person I went to visit was a woman by the name of Mary Garland. And she was the first person that told me about the ICDA, which is the International Catholic Deaf Association. And up to that point, I had no clue that it even existed. So when I was talking to her, she left the room, and I sat there and waited for what must have been 10 minutes. But when she came back, she brought me this whole stack of stuff and said, "Here, this is for you. I want you to take it home and read through all of it." My husband Bill and I have been very involved in all of this. So I thanked her. And I brought this whole stack of documents home and started reading through all of it. And it was quite fascinating. So when I finished going through it all, I brought it back to her and she said, "No, no, 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 no. I want you to keep it. I'm old now." And so I brought them back home and I just didn't have the heart to dispose of them. So what I did is I took a cardboard box and created some special folders and filled the box with these folders. And Mary gave me more and more documents. Plus, she told me about other deaf people who in turn gave me a lot of old documents and papers related to deaf Catholic history. So I started filling that box up. And then in 1976, I went to Montreal. And when I was there, I went to visit a group of deaf nuns. The order of nuns was called Our Lady of the Seven Sorrows, or the Seven Dolors. While I was there visiting, and I met with a deaf nun named Sister Elizabeth Cass. And we had quite the conversation and talked about, deaf Catholic history. And right away, she decided to give me, maybe 5 boxes worth of documents and things that she had archived. Mostly newsletters, old newsletters from the United States about Catholic, deaf people and Catholic deaf services. She kept all of them under her bed for years because up there the French would throw out anything that was printed in English. So she felt that she needed to save them and preserve them, and she gave them to me, and I brought them home. So now my collection just grew exponentially. You have so many different things in your archive. Can you tell me what 3 of your favorite things are? Well, Father Mike, I have many things that are my favorite, but I'll mention 3 specific things to you. One of them is actually a sign language book that when it was made was hand typed. And this is a carbon copy of that book by a sister of St. Joseph in St. Louis. Now, understand the book is completely typewritten. There are no pictures. The signs, each and every one of them, are explained verbally in writing, and it's got to be from 1900, but I don't know the exact date. But I'm very proud that I have a copy of that book. And the sister started, that sign language book here in the U.S. The second thing that's one of my favorites, and that I'm very proud to have in my possession, would be a copy of a magazine. And the magazine was called The Catholic Deaf Mute. And I have all the copies that existed from January of 1922 up until November 1924. Now, most of the other issues are lost and we can't seem to find them yet. Probably my third favorite is that I have copies of the minutes from the meetings from an organization called the Theta Society of New York City. Now, I have minutes from all those meetings from 1939 until around sometime in the 1980s. And it's very interesting that I have those, especially when you read through them. Now, I wish I could tell you a lot more of my favorites, but if If there are deaf Catholics that have some old documents and things and they want to give to the archives, would you be willing to accept them? If you're interested in donating something to the Deaf Catholic Archives here, I can tell you we will take just about anything. But understand that it needs to be related to deaf Catholics in some way, shape, or form. We'll take magazines, newsletters, yearbooks from Catholic schools, newspaper articles. We'll even take films of any kind. Let me see. Just a second. We'll take minutes of meetings, program books. Also, we'll even take name tags from conferences that occurred. Even if you have something that just has one line about somebody or the name of a deaf person that was related to the Deaf Catholic Association in some way, shape, or form, we'll take that. Magazine articles, even theses we'll accept. But I think you get the picture. What I mean is that we'll take just about everything. And please don't think that if you have something that, it's probably not worth anything or it's not a big deal. Don't do that, because what you have may be the very last one in existence. So please save it and send it to us here at the archives. You think the archives are important. Why? Well, I think it's important for a few reasons. First, it's our deaf Catholic history, and we really need to preserve it. There's a lot of information that's been lost. So we're trying to, keep our history intact. And secondly, it's important also for anyone who's doing research. They want to write an article, or maybe doing their thesis, or if they're writing a book. We need to keep our deaf Catholic history intact. Is there anything else you want us to know? Yes, I guess there are a couple things, but mainly please don't be afraid to send us what you have. Things that are sent to us or donated to us, uh, they will stay here forever. They will never be discarded. Oh, we really appreciate this interview. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Thank you for coming here today. And please encourage your people to come visit us. We're open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. We close for lunch from 12 to 1. Yes, I will be sure to let people know.